Welcome to the show. This evening, my guest be Ms.LaWana Mayfield. How you doing there, Ms. Mayfield?
I am having a truly blessed day. How are you?
It is so awesome. God is truly awesome. Tell us a little bit about LaWana Mayfield.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to try to give the condensed version since I've been around for about 41 years now, but don't tell anybody that one.
You look...
Well, I'm a community organizer. First and foremost, I love identifying resources for the community. I love standing side by side and helping my community with issues. I've organized rallies in the local area, and I've gone and stood up for those that weren't able to stand for themselves. So if you weren't able to do it, then I've done my best to make sure that there was an advocate in rooms where some of the community could not be in. But that is my passion, and that's the gift that God's given me, the gift of a fighter that has been blessed to get in, have access to certain rooms.
District 3, what made you decide to want to go for District 3 in City Council?
Yes, District 3 is an interesting area, but first and foremost, it's my home. That's my district. I live right between Freedom Drive and Wilkinson Boulevard. So I've seen for the more than 11 years that my home has been there a difference in the community. When I drive through the area, I see development that has started, but the development seems to be on the outskirts of the district, because like I mentioned, it's from Old Steel Creek all the way out to the Palisades, almost going into Lake Wiley. So you have a very diverse group of unemployed, working poor to upper middle class. And there's a disconnect with transparency, with access to resources. We have this beautiful corridor, Freemore West, was Freedom and West Moorhead, where development has happened, but then you go a block or two away from Moorhead, you see some new homes that were built, but then you go half a mile further and it's a difference with visually how the district looks. And I just don't feel like we have an advocate that's really been fighting for the growth of District 3.
What type of improvement do you feel needs to be done in District 3?
I have a campaign that's very simple. We're looking at stable, smart, and strong. Stable real estate values, smart economic development, and strong community safety. When election time comes around, everyone talks about jobs. When I say stable and smart economic development, I'm talking about us identifying the programs that's actually going to train not only our youth, but our adults for the next generation of jobs. So if we bring those jobs into the community, we need to make sure we have the workforce that's going to sustain those companies. We need to make sure that when development comes, it's development that's going to be supported by the community. Bringing another business into the area that's a warehouse, that's not bringing economic development. That's not bringing jobs to the area necessarily. That's not giving the community a chance to support this business. We have areas where you don't have access to quality food choices. We have grocery stores, but they're not brand grocery stores. An example, I needed to buy a bag of ice right off of Freedom Drive. I had to go 3 different places. The 2 grocery stores I went to didn't even sell bags of ice. I ended up going to a corner gas station that no longer sells gas. They just have the corner store now in order to purchase a bag of ice. There's a problem when you have a large segment of the community that does not have private transportation. If they're on the bus line, if they're walking, what options do they have if they're on Freedom Drive, West Boulevard, Wilkinson, Remount? What are their closest options outside of Walmart, which was a great addition to the area, but what else do we have to show on this side of town?
That's true. But would you, I mean, so how do we solve that problem? I mean, do we bring in other businesses? Are businesses willing to come into the 3rd district?
It's about marketing. We need to market our district for all of the gifts that are waiting to be tapped into. When you look at West Boulevard coming back towards Uptown to, say, Freedom Drive, you have less than 8 minutes and you're in Uptown Charlotte. You have easy access to I-77, to 277, to I-85. I don't think our district has really been promoted as a whole as a great area to come in and for small businesses to set up shop. We have a lot of vacant space that can be retrofitted. We have spaces where there was an attempt to bring new business, but we did have a dip in the economy, so that did take a major toll. But ultimately, I'm just not hearing that advocate that's fighting for all of the wonderful possibilities of District 3 that should be highlighted. West End is a great example. When you look at South End, that's a great example. When you look out Arrowwood, heading towards the Palisades, that's a great example of both housing development as well as economic development. But that middle, where most of the incomes are below $100,000 a year.
Correct.
I just think we need to have someone that's going to grab our potential investors by the hand to say, come over here and pay attention, because we have a lot of opportunity.
Let's talk about the issue of crime. Now, I don't know exactly how, maybe you might know, how does District 3 compare to the rest of the community, Charlotte community, as far as crime, and how do we deal with it? Is that one of the issues?
You know, the perception of crime is always going to be an issue. The city of Charlotte has crime.
Correct.
District 3, when you speak with the officers, which I have done over at the Freedom Station, the numbers are not as high or any higher than a lot of the other communities in the area. But when it's portrayed in the media, unfortunately, a lot of times it is portrayed as if this area has a higher amount of crime, but it really isn't. I have attended several different neighborhood association meetings throughout just one section, the further west side of District 3, and they are recording record drops in crime. They're up 38% or more in crime reduction. Some of the precincts are recording #2 and #3 highest scores for crime reduction. So it's the perception that there's a lot of crime in the area, but that's part of that marketing. Correct. To start having those conversations. Even when you think of the Walmart, the numbers that are presented in the media are sometimes very different than the numbers that are actually presented by the officers. Our police are doing an amazing job. They have ramped up their appearance in the community, especially for the summer months. You see them at the neighborhood association meetings. We know our community officers. We need to have more members of the community to show up more, to learn who their community officers are. But they have built this relationship under the leadership of Chief Monroe that has been a complete turnaround than what we had seen in previous years. Correct. Especially off of Columbus Circle. I live not too far from that area. That area was considered a very high crime area. Crime has gone down considerably to the point where I feel comfortable to go walking for my exercise through my neighborhood. And there was a time many years ago where I literally would go home, go into the house, and come back out. So I've personally seen the changes, but again, I'm not seeing the leadership that's guiding those changes. It looks like the community and relationship with the police department is what's helped make those changes in District 3.
Are we, as members of the community, are we getting as involved as we should in making District 3 one of the best communities in the city?
I think we can do more. I think there's definitely room. We have a lot of active people in the community throughout the district. I mean, we have amazing leadership through the Clanton Park Neighborhood Association and through Revolution Park. And even looking at the Wilmore neighborhood, there's a lot of great leadership, but you have that small group of people carrying the weight of a district with more than 61,000 residents in it.
Okay.
And those are the registered voters. So there's a lot more in there of those who are not registered and those who are not of legal age to vote yet. So you have a small number of people carrying the weight of a large district on their shoulders. So I definitely think there's opportunities for all of us to step up. That's why I'm here. One of my ways of being more productive and stepping up is to run for city council and to let people know that a community organizer, a concerned parent, a concerned citizen can be of service, and there should be no barriers in what that level of service looks like.
What are some of the biggest things that you would like to see change, not only in District 3, but around the whole Charlotte community?
I want us to go back to that idea of a welcoming city. Many years ago, seems like forever now, but 2005 and prior, we were always promoted as this welcoming international city that respected and honored diversity. Diversity in gender, diversity in ethnicity. But it seems like we're getting away from that. There was a time when I was younger, because it's been about 20 years that I've been in Charlotte now, where you can drive through the neighborhoods and people will wave at you, whether you know them or not.
Correct.
We're getting away from that. We need to get back to knowing our neighbors. We need to go back to a place where, and you know what, it's not even really going back. We need to get to a place where we know our neighbors, because we're all new. It's new people that's in the city now. We need to know who our neighbors are. We need to have relationships. We need to show up at community meetings. We need to show up when there's something that's happening. We can't always be reactionary. We have to be proactive. I see so many positives that can happen, but for a lot of us, I think we need the leadership to say that it's okay to come as you are and to be of service. Just show up and be present. And I don't think a lot of people feel like they've been welcomed into a lot of rooms where they can come share their ideas and their concerns.
Correct.
And I want to change that. I want people to know that you have someone that's not only going to listen, but that's going to advocate based on what is the concerns that keep coming up throughout this diverse district. And how can I be of assistance to make sure that we have transparency and that you have access to resources that are literally right around the corner from you that you might not even realize are there.
City Council. Okay, I know that's a big area right there, and what all do they do with within the City Council, and why is it important that we get more educated on what all they do at the City Council?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is social services, because a lot of people don't realize that you have city council, you have county commissioners, you have school board. So they think that a lot of the issues overlap. Like with school board, city council doesn't have a lot of control. That's just not a department that's going to be handled. That'll be the county commissioners and the school board that'll work on those issues. The way I look at it, and as I'm learning more, because you can only learn so much as a citizen sitting on this side of the table, is city council is going to help guide this city into the growth, the economic development, helping to create more opportunities for us to not only identify being in a safer community, but helping to make that happen by partnerships with our police department and creating programs that's going to highlight the benefits and the gifts of the city. But also, it's more somewhat of the administrative level of making sure that our city is put in a position where we're highlighted, like with the fact that the DNC is coming.
Correct.
You had your advocates that were out there lobbying for why Charlotte is such a wonderful city and why it would be advantageous for the DNC to really pay attention to all the gifts that we have here and to recognize that this will be a great host city for the national convention. When we look at the role of council, there's a lot of things that the council does not fall into. There's some social services and human services concerns that come up that don't really fall into council, but more than anything else, as a constituent, even if you don't necessarily know where the right department is,
Correct.
if you contact your representative, then I should be able to let you know, okay, Mrs. Jackson, give me a day or two. That really doesn't fall in this particular area that I'm in, but give me a day or so and I'll be able to connect you with the department that will be able to assist you with this, opposed to you either not receiving a call back at all or you receiving the runaround. At least if it's not something that I directly will be able to work with on the council, then I should be able to guide you to who you should be talking to. If it's not looking at a possible ordinance, then that's, if you're calling about a specific issue in the community, or you're a business owner and you're looking at expanding your hours, or looking at trying to have an ordinance, or even looking at the lancheros and looking at what's happening with them having their ordinances trying to be passed, that's going to limit the amount of time that they're able to sell their tacos or their taquitos, opposed to someone selling hot dogs. That's something that I might be able to get you direct information on. But if it's an issue regarding school board or something that will fall on county commissioners, then I'm going to try to get you to the right department that's going to be able to actually help you with your particular concern at that time.
You have a lot of passion for your community. Where is that passion coming from?
I recognize my gifts. They say God takes care of fools and babies. Well, what I recognize is in that taking care of, God guided me to service, and that's where I am the happiest. I love being an advocate and knowing that at the end of the day, I was able to help make someone's life a little better, a little easier, where there was one less fight that they had to do. I can't really give a reason of where it comes from. I mean, I'm pretty much an open book. Correct. But a little of my background, my father passed when I was 13, my mother when I was 15. By 17, I was out on my own. So when I was younger, I really felt like the world owed me something, and like so many young people, walked around with a chip on my shoulder. And probably about my mid-20s, I realized that I can change this. And I had the opportunity to volunteer at a lesbian and gay suicide hotline, third shift, and I started doing that. And from there, all of my career of service and giving back started. I think I was maybe 24 years old, and I wanted to help someone realize that there's a gift inside of you. You just need to give yourself time to find it. And checking out was not an option. So from there, I started volunteering at almost any and everything that they needed volunteers for. When we had the Susan G. Komen races here, I was always a team captain and raised money for that. I raised money for the Regional AIDS Interfaith Network, because those are very good causes. They have direct impact on people. I was able to become a member of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Community Relations Committee and serve as the Young Leaders Subcommittee Chair. I worked with the Charlotte Community Justice Coalition that helped create the Racial Justice Act. I mean, if it has been issues of equity and equality, I have been there, because I recognize that the ideal city of Charlotte would embrace all of our diversity. It will welcome all of us to come in and serve without fear, without feeling less than. Whether you are a senior and you never graduated high school, you've lived life long enough to have identified your gifts, and there's somebody out there that needs to hear your story.
Correct.
Or needs to learn a lesson from you. So I don't ever want people to feel like you shouldn't be in the room based on your history. My life could have been a lot different, but I was always protected and always cared for. So it's my responsibility to give back. And I just look at this as my next step of service. Opposed to sitting around with friends and complaining about what I see, I have been proactively getting involved. Where there's a place where I felt like someone needs to stand up, then I've stepped into that place to be around that table, because I really need to understand, what is your logic for when you're making these decisions? Whose best interest do you have in mind?
I know I don't know whether you still are, but you were a work supervisor for the Red Cross, and you dealt with a lot of the major disasters. How did that make you feel, saving the lives of those individuals and encouraging them? And how do you feel that impact your community that you want to bring to that?
Being with the Red Cross was an amazing experience. I was with the American Red Cross for 7 years, actually in the finance department in accounts payables and receivables, and trained to be a disaster casework supervisor during that time. So there was always something to draw me out of being in the office space. So I had the opportunity to go out during Hurricane Katrina and Rita for 3 weeks to set up a disaster services shelter where we provided the immediate financial need for those that had experienced a disaster. And I had plenty of opportunities since I was the manager of the shelter. We had 40 Red Cross volunteers and 40 community volunteers. So that was 80 volunteers running this shelter that opened up every morning at 5 a.m. and we didn't close until after 7 p.m. Looking at the devastation of the individuals that came in need of service and those that came to volunteer that had lost everything but still felt a desire to give back. There really aren't too many words to express what it meant for me to be able to be there. It was a gift. It was a gift for me to have the opportunity to work with some absolutely amazing people who I'm still in contact with today, and to listen, to be there to listen, because they had amazing stories and they just needed someone to talk to be able to release all of that so that they didn't have to have it on their shoulders. When I went out for the Iowa floods after they happened and looking at that devastation and looking at the feeling of loss in someone's eyes, but to be there and when the conversation is over, you've made them smile, or you made them laugh, or you made them think of something, to, even if it's for a brief moment, to take them away from that immediate place. Those are things that help to guide me to be who I am today. Having those opportunities to help other people help to solidify that my role is a role to give back and to fight for those that might not be in a position to fight for themselves, and for the ones that can fight for themselves, to stand right next to them and say, okay, I hear your concerns. Now I'm going to take it to the next level, and we're going to see what we can get done that's going to benefit everybody.
How does that make you feel, knowing that you could be the next voice for the District 3? I mean, there's a lot of people in that community that's crying for help. How does that make you feel, knowing that you can uplift those families?
Honestly, it makes me feel honored. I have received so much support on the ground. We have a very aggressive door-to-door campaign. We are knocking on the neighbors' doors, talking to them. I'm asking them their concerns. And I have had people tell me that this is the first time they've ever had a candidate come to their door. I just can't imagine that. I can't imagine any other way, because how are you going to get to know me? Even once elected, how are you going to have a relationship if you don't even know what I look like? Because you've never had you've never seen me at a neighborhood association meeting. You never seen me volunteering in the community. for a lot of people that I'm talking to, they're excited. I had an amazing opportunity this Tuesday morning for the Freedom School. The Harambe program is C.N. Jenkins Memorial. I was able to go read to the young people. There were 2 seniors that were in that space that are in my district that I had left flyers on their door and recognized me from the flyer, and for them to see me in community volunteering, that whole expression changed for them to know that I'm not just showing up just to run for council, that I've been out in the community doing work for more than 15 years, and that work is going to continue because we have to reach out to our young people. So having a young person tell me that they want to spend the day with me, I had my little 13-year-old cousin with me last Friday to hear the results of the 2010 youth drug survey. She didn't even know that her age is the age that young people start drinking, start smoking, start binging. She didn't even know that. We need to show up. So what I'm hoping is that people are going to get energized. They're going to want to go out during the primary if they haven't done it before, if they haven't done it in a long time. They're going to want to rush to the polls. They're going to want to vote early because they're seeing something they haven't seen in a long time, and they're as excited about this process as I am.
We're running short on time, LaWana. I mean, I can go all day talking to you. I mean, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I know you're much success for you. I see there's a blessing that's being. Continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Being inspirational. Encourage y'all to continue to watch the show. LaWana Mayfield. You're going to see her. I know you will. Until we meet again, you be encouraged. Thank you. I want to thank God for making all this possible. We were just voted, the show was just voted 2010 most informational, educational program. I want to thank God for making all this possible.
Congratulations.
Oh, my director, Sonia Roberts. I have a lot of family members. Reverend Charles Williams, Harvey Williams. I have Belinda Mazik. All of them have outstanding show. I want to give thanks to all the rest of the outstanding people, my family members that came in and helped make this show possible, because we all want to encourage the community to say that we care. And this is what this show is all about. I just want to say thank you. You be encouraged, audience.